Welcome back to our YouTube channel. Here I am back with one more video lecture, that is the types of the hypothesis. In the previous video lecture, we have discussed about the concept of the hypothesis and the basis and the form of the hypothesis. Let us recapitulate what we have understood in the previous lecture. We have gone through the two major bases of the formulation of hypothesis. One is a review of related literature, and second is the related theory. And we also understood in the previous video lecture what is the null hypothesis and what is directional hypothesis, where we have to frame the null hypothesis and where we have to formulate the directional hypothesis. And one more thing I have said in the end of the previous video lecture, that the hypothesis should be written in the present tense only. I have seen many papers or many theses where the hypothesis is written in the future tense. That's not the good way to write the hypothesis. Today we will discuss about the types of the hypothesis. There are three basic types of the hypothesis. There are the research hypothesis, statistical hypothesis, and the operational hypothesis. These three types of the hypothesis differ only in the wording, how we write the hypothesis. The researcher can formulate any of the three types of the hypothesis, either the research hypothesis, statistical hypothesis, or the operational hypothesis. But one thing he should keep in mind, that only the statistical hypothesis can be directly tested with the statistical techniques or the methods, and also the operational hypothesis. But research hypothesis cannot be tested with the help of the statistical techniques. Research hypothesis can only be tested when we convert it into the statistical hypothesis. Let us move forward and see how to formulate these three types of the hypothesis by taking an example of an objective. Suppose a researcher, in our previous video lecture, we have found a research gap, that is the e-learning, and suppose a researcher has framed the objective, which is to compare the mean scores of the performance of a student in online and offline teaching. Okay, this is the objective which the researcher wants to find out whether the performance of a student is good in online teaching or offline teaching. Now, how the researcher can formulate these three types of the hypothesis. Okay, the first hypothesis we have gone through is the research hypothesis, and the wording of the research hypothesis is like this: there is no significant relationship between the performance of the students and the mode of teaching, and mode of teaching is online or offline teaching. But remember one thing, that you should never use the future tense in stating the hypothesis, as I have seen in many research papers and the research thesis that they have written, there shall be no significant relation. That is wrong. We should never use the future tense in stating the hypothesis. We should always use the present tense in stating the hypothesis. Next type of hypothesis is the statistical hypothesis, and the wording of statistical hypothesis is like this: there is no significant difference in the mean scores of the performance of a student in the online and offline teaching. And the third hypothesis is the operational hypothesis, which is like the wording of this operational hypothesis is like this: there is no significant difference in the mean scores of the performance of the students in the online and offline teaching when the performance is assessed with the help of the objective test developed by the teacher. Now, what's the difference between the three types of the hypothesis? Okay, it's as you can see, in these three types of hypothesis, in the research hypothesis, we use the word relationship, and in the in the statistical hypothesis, we use the word here, the mean scores, okay. And in the third form, operational type of the hypothesis is the almost the statistical hypothesis, but we have added here how we collected the data. That means we have added the tool, name of the tool with the help of which we have collected the data. What's the difference between the three types of hypothesis is that in the research hypothesis, when we state the research hypothesis, we use the word relationship in the research hypothesis. And keep in mind that research hypothesis cannot be tested with the help of the statistical technique till we convert it into the statistical hypothesis or the operational hypothesis. And in the statistical hypothesis, the statistical words like mean, correlation, multiple correlation, and so on are used to state the statistical hypothesis. The use of the statistical words in the formulation of the hypothesis make the differentiate between the research hypothesis and the statistical hypothesis. And lastly, in case of this operational hypothesis, it is the statistical hypothesis, but when the name of the tool used in the data collection is mentioned, then we say it's the operational hypothesis. It's almost the same as that of the statistical hypothesis, but when we write the name of the tool with the help of which we have collected the data, we say that it is the operational hypothesis. I hope you have got the difference between these three types of the hypothesis. And the researcher has to keep in mind that he has to formulate only one type of hypothesis for one objective. Suppose I have objective which I have already mentioned in this video, and only one type of hypothesis, either the research hypothesis or the statistical hypothesis or the operational hypothesis should be formulated. And it's only the statistical hypothesis in the null form that can be directly tested with the help of the this statistical technique. In the next video lecture, we will discuss about the testing of the hypothesis. I hope you have understood today's video lecture. If you like this video, don't forget to give the thumbs up to this video. Share this video with other students so that the student community get benefited from this video. If you are new to our channel, don't forget to subscribe our channel and press the bell icon to get the new notifications of our videos. Thank you very much. God bless you.